There was a night when everything changed for him. Not because something extraordinary happened, not because someone appeared to help him, and not because luck suddenly found him. It changed because, for the first time in his life, he faced a truth he had been avoiding for years. The truth was simple, brutal, and impossible to ignore once you saw it clearly. Nobody was coming to save him. He was 25 years old enough to feel the pressure of time, but still young enough to pretend everything would somehow work out. His life wasn't terrible. That was part of the problem. It wasn't painful enough to force change, but it wasn't good enough to make him proud either. It was just comfortable and stuck. Every day looked almost the same. Wake up, grab the phone, scroll through messages, scroll through social media, scroll through other people's lives. Hours passed without him even noticing. He told himself he deserved a break, that life was stressful, that everyone moved at their own pace. But deep inside, there was a quiet voice whispering something he didn't want to hear. Is this really the life you want? At first he ignored it. Most people do. It's easier to stay distracted than to face uncomfortable questions. So he kept going through the same routine. Work just enough to get by. Dream about a better future, but never take the real steps required to reach it. Promise himself that tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow I'll start going to the gym. Tomorrow I'll focus on my goals. Tomorrow I'll work harder. Tomorrow I'll become the person I know I can be. But tomorrow kept turning into another tomorrow. Weeks became months. Months slowly became years. And nothing really changed. Then one night, something felt different. He couldn't sleep. His mind was restless. So he did what most people do when they feel lost. He grabbed his phone again. He started scrolling through social media, watching everyone else's lives unfold through a screen. A friend celebrating a promotion. Another one posting pictures of a new apartment. Someone starting a business. Someone traveling to another country. At first, he felt happy for them. But then another emotion appeared, something heavier. A quiet realization started forming in his mind. Everyone around him seemed to be moving forward. While he was standing still, he tried to ignore the thought. He told himself social media was fake. He told himself people only showed the good parts of their lives. And that was true. But even after putting the phone down, the feeling didn't disappear. Instead, a question appeared in his mind, stronger than before. What am I doing with my life? Not in a dramatic way. Not like in a movie where everything suddenly collapses. It was quieter than that, almost calm. But that calm made it more dangerous, because deep down, he already knew the answer. He wasn't building anything. He wasn't improving. He wasn't becoming the person he always imagined he could be. He was just passing time, for the first time in years. He looked at his own life honestly. No excuses. No blaming circumstances. No pretending things were better than they actually were, and what he saw wasn't comfortable. He saw wasted time, hours spent on distractions that added nothing to his future, dreams that were never followed by real action, potential that slowly faded because it was never used, and suddenly the truth became impossible to ignore. Nobody had done this to him. It wasn't his parents. It wasn't the city he'd lived in. It wasn't bad luck. It was him. That realization hurt more than any failure ever could, because failure at least gives you something to blame. But responsibility forces you to face the truth, and the truth that night was simple. Nobody was coming to save him. No mentor would magically appear and fix his life. No opportunity would fall from the sky and change his future. No moment of motivation would suddenly transform him into a disciplined person. If his life ever changed, it would happen for one reason only: because he changed. For a long time he just sat there in silence, thinking about that idea. At first it felt heavy, almost unfair. The idea that nobody would rescue him from the life he had built through years of small bad decisions. But slowly something surprising started happening. The weight turned into clarity, because if nobody was coming to save him, that also meant something powerful. It meant the control was always in his hands. He didn't need permission to improve. He didn't need approval to start building something better. He didn't need the perfect moment. He just needed to start. Not next year, not next month now. That night didn't look special from the outside. The world kept moving like always. Cars passed on the street. People slept in their houses. Nothing dramatic happened, but inside his mind, a decision had been made. He was done waiting, done hoping life would magically change, done pretending he had unlimited time. The next morning, the world looked exactly the same, but he wasn't the same person anymore. Not because he suddenly became perfect, and not because everything became easy. Change never works like that. It started with something small. He woke up earlier, not because he felt motivated, but because he had decided excuses were no longer acceptable. He started using his time differently. Less scrolling, less complaining, more learning, more effort, more discipline. At first, nobody noticed. There were no dramatic results, no applause, no celebration, just quiet progress that only he could see. But day after day, those small actions began to add up. A better routine, a stronger mindset, a clearer vision of the future he wanted to build. Months passed, and slowly, the person he used to be started disappearing. Not because someone saved him, but because he finally stopped waiting for rescue. Most people spend their lives waiting for the perfect opportunity, waiting for motivation, waiting for someone to believe in them before they believe in themselves. But the truth is simple. Nobody is coming, and that might sound harsh at first. But if you really think about it, it's one of the most powerful realizations a person can have. Because the moment you accept that nobody is coming to save you, you stop waiting. You stop blaming the world. You stop hoping your life will magically change, and you finally start building the life you actually want. That night he realized nobody was coming, and strangely enough, that realization saved his life.